Hello, everybody. So there's an interesting question that was posed, and the question is, when is it okay to jury rig something? Now, I have blistered a lot of people before for doing half-ass stuff, period, right? But there's a couple of criteria here. One, if you've got a problem that you don't have a solution to, the first thing that you're required to do is you are required to do the research. As I've said a lot of times, we're not special. Most of this stuff has already been figured out. Now, whether or not that has been translated to the internet and you have access to it is a different deal. In my case, where I needed to grind the radius on these things, I had to kind of come up with some pretty hinky crap, because the question is, what do you have access to? That's another important question. So if you don't have access to the right equipment, and when I say this, here's the deal, and that was the point that it was sticking on, because when do you have access to the right equipment? If you're getting started in blacksmithing, and the difference between you having something that's terrible and going to eat up all your time and something that's going to do the job is only 200 bucks, I understand for a lot of people that can be a lot of money, but that's not a large span of water, okay, period. You pay more on your electric bill every month. However, in this case, this is the setup that we had here. If you guys saw the other video, you saw that I had the piece here, and I was using this as a fulcrum point. The issue that I ran into is, even though that I had the radius correct, because this steel is not annealed, that when it mashes, it's going to spring back. So you actually have to overbend it to get the radius that you want. And the issue that I came up with is the radius that I needed was actually too small, because here's the deal. If I had it hooked right there, I actually needed the radius to be back over here, because the one I did here wasn't giving me the bend that I wanted. Take a look. So even with that other radius, that's as much as I got there, and that's just not going to cut it. So now I have a problem. Now, fortunately, I do have an expensive piece of equipment that can help me. So in that case, if you had no access to any other type of equipment, that is absolutely warranted. Coming up with that stuff, because I did my research. I went to Google, I went to a lot of the machining sites, tried to find, typed in every keyword I could possibly imagine on, some type of grinding jig for a radius. But what I'm doing is super specific. It's been done before. However, the issue is that it probably hasn't made it to the internet. Now, and there are super highly specialized pieces of equipment for that, but they start in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. And even I ain't got those kind of cojones to be able to go and put hands on equipment like that. Now, what I do have is I do have a lathe. And the most important thing about the lathe is it's got places that you can hook stuff up the square. Now, this is absolutely some hokey crap, but you can see that I have a pivot point. I've set this guy up so that it can slide in and out using the existing pieces. So now I have a much better way to control the radius. Now, it's still not perfect, however, but I can also rotate this head. I believe they call that indexing, and you can see what a nice face is already on there. Shoom, shoom, shoom. Now, here's the difference. I talk about, jury rigging, but the difference between somebody that's in the home shop and this is a space of about 6,000 bucks. Now, that's way different from you saying, I need 200 bucks to have the right equipment, and then to be able to get this done. There's just these incredible degrees of these exponential differences in what it costs to get the right equipment. So if you're on level 1, when you're down there where 50 bucks is separating you from having the right equipment, look, go and work for a day and get your stuff right. Because the time that you're going to spend 3 days trying to figure it out, you could have gone and bought it. Same thing with a gas forge. So the point of all this is, when is it okay to jury rig? When you don't have any better options on that end is when you can jury rig. If equipment is within reason that you can go out and get it, go get the equipment. However, if the equipment's $30,000, you nor I are ever going to have access to that equipment. So you jury rig when you have to. Now, the thing that I set up on the table, it worked for a particular radius, but when it got smaller, now I'm in trouble and I got to call out the big guns. Jury rig when you have to. I stress when you have to, after you've done your research and after you exhausted the cheap option. See you guys.